Hi, my name is Kimberly Forst, and this is my thesis titled Impulsivity and Delayed Discounting Measures Among Smokers and Non-Smokers. The overall purpose of the current study is to measure whether delayed discounting and impulsive behaviors or measures will differentiate between smokers and non-smokers. It's important to extend upon previous research to understand the effects of antecedent control of delayed discounting and impulsivity. Research on this subject is important in developing effective interventions for impulsive behavior like smoking, along with other impulsive behaviors such as pathological gambling, spending behavior, or especially drug dependence and abuse. Results showed that neither the two measures used in the study had a significant difference, so further analysis was conducted comparing age differences, which there was significant data to support that self-ratings of impulsive behavior differed with age in the BIS 11. The MCQ 27 did not show any significant difference in overt impulsive behavior. So just an overview of the smoking behavior, economic and societal costs to smoking. There are a lot of spending behaviors that go along with smoking, where the smoker could be spending over $50,000 on smoking-related costs over a decade, and this is per individual. This includes healthcare costs and also just out-of-pocket spending on actual cigarettes. This kind of financial mismanagement and spending behavior has been studied from behavioral economic perspectives, where it has been found that addiction and financial mismanagement often occur together, where participants reported highly elevated discounting rates and increased impulsive behaviors. When it comes to addiction, the reason that this is in relation to my study with smoking is that there could be an effect on nicotine dependence, just like drug dependence. So impulsivity can be defined as a predisposition toward rapid, unplanned reactions to internal or external stimuli without regard to negative consequences of these reactions. So although there is a negative consequence to smoking, such as like health deterioration or financial mismanagement, people still tend to go toward those rapid, unplanned reactions. So based off of the definition, impulsive behavior can be described by using a three-component model, which includes response initiation, response inhibition, and consequence sensitivity. And impulsivity can be measured using delayed discounting procedures, which are used in this study. So the methods for this study included a total of 30 participants. There was one group of smokers that included 10 females and 5 males with a mean age of 40.2, and the other group is non-smokers, which consisted of 13 females and 2 males with a mean age of 26.8. A majority of the populations, or the ages of the populations of both groups, there were a lot of people in the 20s age cohort, and very minimal in the 30s and 40s, and there were a good amount of 50s and up, which will be discussed later. The experiment took place at a place and time of the participants' choosing, because the experiment took place with a link to surveys using Google Forms. The materials used in this study are 2 surveys that include the Monetary Choice Questionnaire, the MCQ 27, and the Barrett Impulsivity Scale, the BIS 11. For the data analysis, overall k-values were calculated using the hyperbolic discounting equation and plugged into unpaired t-tests. So to the left is the Barrett Impulsivity Scale. This scale is like a self-reported measure of impulsive behaviors for an individual. So for example, number 1 says, I plan tasks carefully. There's also, I do things without thinking, I make up my mind quickly. These scores reflect the impulsivity measures among the participant rating themselves. Whereas the monetary choice questionnaire to the right has 27 questions that refers to delay discounting. So, for example, question 1 says, would you prefer $54 today or $55 in 117 days? The first answer, or the $54 today, would be the smaller reward today. And then the $55 obviously is the larger reward in a specified number of days. So if the person selects the smaller reward today, that will probably reflect more impulsive behavior if the difference between the amounts of money is large. For the methods in this study, the MCQ used k-values using a hyperbolic discounting equation, which is the figure to the right. This was conducted by reversing the equation so that the k-value would be on the left. This applies to the monetary choice questionnaire because the values are divided. So we have the larger reward divided by the smaller reward minus 1 all over the number of days of delay discounting. In the BIS 11, the k-values were based on individual responses. So from the questionnaire that they replied to, there are total scores that are calculated from that survey specifically. The unpaired t-test is used to compare the means of both groups. So given the assumptions of the analysis are true, utilizing a 95% confidence interval suggests that p-values are less than 0.05, which would be statistically significant. The figure to the left are the k-values from the MCQ 27. Those were calculated using an automated scorer by Reed and Kaplan. That kind of just made it more efficient to gather all of these p-values rather than writing them all out by hand. To the right, we have results from the Barrett Impulsiveness Scale and the Monetary Choice Questionnaire, comparing the means of the smokers versus non-smokers in each of those surveys. So in these analyses, the confidence interval determines how precise the difference is. Therefore, the purpose of the analysis is to see how far apart the means actually are. This is calculated by combining the standard error of measurement, or the SEM, of both groups, and the t-ratio will be large, either positive or negative, if the difference is large compared to the SEM of the difference and when the p-value is small. So the results of the initial experiment were not statistically significant in either the BIS 11 or the MCQ 27. They had p-values for the BIS 11 was 0.162, and the results of the MCQ 27, the p-value was 0.059. This is all assuming that a confidence interval of 95% is applied. So as a result of this, both smokers and non-smokers in both studies did not differ in delay discounting rates and impulsivity measures. These results suggest that smoking does not have an effect on delay discounting rates and impulsivity, despite other studies that have found otherwise. Due to the previous results not being significant, further analysis was warranted after noticing that the age range between those groups were very different. As a result, an unpaired t-test was conducted to compare BIS 11 and MCQ 27 scores in smokers who were in the 20s age cohort. In this case, it was 26 through 28, and smokers who were 50 and above. So for the unpaired t-tests, there was statistical significance in the BIS-11, where the p-value was 0.05, and the MCQ-27 was not significant, given the p was 0.458. Another t-test was run, the paired t-test, that was conducted to compare BIS-11 scores and MCQ-27 scores among the 20s age cohort of smokers and non-smoker groups. So in the paired t-test, the results showed that the BIS-11 did have statistical significance with the p-value of 0.041, and the MCQ, again, did not show any statistical significance. Implications of this study say that there was no statistical significance from the data collected in the initial study for both the BIS-11 and the MCQ-27. This was across both groups, the smokers and non-smokers. When analyzing this data from the age cohort analyses, the BIS-11 was consistent across the unpaired and paired t-test. The mean was larger for smokers who were older in the unpaired t-test, indicating higher impulsivity measures, and the mean was also much higher in smokers in the paired t-test, also indicating higher impulsivity measures in smokers in comparison to non-smokers in the same age cohort. Limitations of the study, despite previous research finding that smokers tend to be more impulsive than non-smokers, the current study showed no statistical significance in regard to those measures. Some limitations that could have impacted the results of the initial study are the number of participants, the use of self-report measures, and generational gaps and differences in impulsivity measures. The number of participants, 15 smokers and 15 non-smokers. If the sample size was larger, the results might have varied, especially if there was more of a focus on specific ages, or a focus on getting varying ages rather than more or other of different age cohorts. So for future research, it should attempt to address the limitations that were presented above. First, the number of participants should be expanded and specified. There are gaps in research on generational studies and impulsivity. There is no study that I've found that directly studies impulsivity among generations. There are some on economic spending behaviors, but I did not find anything just based solely on impulsivity. It suggested that further research focus on specific generational cohorts to determine impulsive behavior trends. This should include behaviors like smoking, drug dependence, pathological gambling, and other impulsive behaviors, and try to figure out how to intervene. So in conclusion, as society changes and the scientific research continues on, impulsivity is something that can contribute to many problem behaviors, both overtly and covertly. Understanding impulsive behaviors can help us better understand the potential strategies to prevent people from engaging in harmful behavior and to intervene and aid in addiction and overall well-being improvement. Thank you.